this is not just a drama. This is a statement.
You know, Angie Kai being the genius that she is, she wanted to take this story and make it on the same scale as something that was like a fantasy epic, but make it a modern story for a new generation of women.
If Psy is mad, what song are we listening to, Ty?
Like a river.
Exactly.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fall For It, an Asian drama pod, where we discuss kind of the deeper meanings of the dramas that we watch from the other side of the world. And today is going to be a little different because today I have with me a new guest. Her name is Lindy, and she runs an Instagram account called Every Outfit on Meteor Garden 2018. And she is doing a lot of things on Instagram with the fandom of Meteor Garden. A lot of things that I stumbled upon randomly and I thought were quite amazing because it's a part of the fandom that I didn't know existed. It is a fandom that I believed existed, but I didn't know the depth of it. And what she was doing with that fandom from this part of the world, from the US, was pretty amazing to me, pretty outstanding. So the reason why we're doing this episode this month is because Lindy decided, I think with a lot of other people in the fandom, that she wanted to put together a celebration about Meteor Garden and sort of celebrate the fandom and the show and everything that's happened over the past year. So Lindy, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, this is so wild. It is so wild. But I'm very excited for doing this because I will take any opportunity to talk about not only Meteor Garden, but the fandom, which I love and want to grow. Like, if I could, so much more. I am Lindy. I am incredible. I have to say a couple of things because I get asked this all the time. Yes. I am not a professional. I have nothing to do with Meteor Garden. Angie Chai does not know my name. She has no idea who I am. And for those of you who don't know, she is the producer of this beautiful show, Meteor Garden, and she has done all of them. And I have called her the OG of the MG. Like, that's my one of my hashtags. I got 1,000, but that's one of my hashtags. And no one on the show knows who I am. I am out there, a girl who was blown away by the first Asian drama I have ever seen in my life. And I'm located here on the East Coast of the United States. I don't know anyone in real life who's watching this show. And it's just never been the same. It has never been the same since that August afternoon where I decided I was just going to go ahead and let the gods of the Netflix algorithm speak to me. And it's been a journey since.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing to me because similar things have happened to me and my co-host and a lot of the other women that I've connected with through Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. So tell us the kind of surface level of what you're doing right now on Instagram, and then we'll get into kind of the why.
Okay. We started the Meteor Garden International Fandom Tribute. It started on January 31st, which was the character's Dao Ming-Sai's birthday in the original source material. And then it's going through March 21st, which is
Shenzai's.
Yes, her birthday. That is in the drama, the 2018 drama, because her birthday is another day in the manga. It's just different.
Cool.
So we just decided on these very random dates, and that is 7 weeks of just basically doing everything we can to celebrate the fandom, not to create necessarily all these new things, but to actually celebrate the things that actually already exist. So, for example, the very first thing we did was to do a roll call, and the roll call is just to say, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from. And we, and I had done roll calls for months now, just months, because I was so interested to see not only where people on my account were from, but other accounts and just where everyone was from.
Right.
And so it was so interesting to see. And I would always, I would say, all right, we're doing another roll call. And I hope this is the time we get Antarctica. This is the time we get all 7 continents. And so this last roll call, we did get all 7 continents. And I was so excited that we found this lovely woman who had actually gone on an expedition down to Antarctica. And it was absolutely amazing. She sent pictures, and she had heard about it from some clients who I guess she was touring with, and so she's from Canada. She downloaded all of it, and while she was on the trip, she just binged it like the rest of us binge it.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and so she watched some of the show while she was actually there on Antarctica. So Nina sent us pictures, and I was super excited. And so it was lovely. It was so hard to get Antarctica, but we got it.
Wow.
And of course it's also hard to get Africa because Netflix and, internet in general. Right. So we did get Daph, who's in South Africa. She is from the Philippines. She's in South Africa now. And she was one of the first ones to say, no, we're here in Africa too. So it was so exciting. So
wow.
We did roll call, and then we did the parade of accounts, which is where if you had an account and you wanted to just kind of get a shout out, I asked that, that you just tell us who you are, what your focus is, and share the information on your account if you feel like it. Your participation is completely up to you. I just want to see the fandom just grow. And so, because I feel like with these stories and these kinds of, it feels like a movement. It's a very slow burn movement, I feel like, in the United States, especially on the East Coast, it feels like to me. Mm-hmm. But it's a slow burn, and I was just like, no, we're in it for the long haul. And the more we can get people, the more people can just go ahead and in their countries or states or wherever can talk about it, then it's just going to, as long as Netflix has got it out there, I feel like we'll just go ahead and keep building this, the fandom up. And so we're just doing just all sorts of stuff. Those are the two main things we did early. We have fanfics, festivals, which is what I do on my account. And from that, a lot of the followers have opened up their own Wattpad accounts, which I think is amazing because I think everyone should write. And I encourage everyone always, I don't even care. Just give me 5 lines. Just give me 5 lines. And of course the fashion, the one that we have going on now is where people are dressing like F4, and I'm getting, this morning I got 4 direct messages, and they were pictures of people who had either were dressed like F4 or had their hair like Shansei or whatever it was. And so, yeah, I'm just incredibly excited about all of it. Oh, and then the other one that I absolutely love, these 2 things. We are doing, towards the end, we're doing a celebration of the fan art that's available on Instagram. And I am constantly on Instagram looking for the fan art, but it's not all tagged the same. You've got to, some people don't even tag it as Meteor Garden, but it's him. There's no mistaking that it's Sai, that it's not Sai. And so I have contacted lots of artists, and I said, could you just use this tag so that everyone can go ahead and just share the love with you, because what you're doing is amazing. Mm-hmm. So of course, Freak Draw, who is on Instagram, huge presence on Instagram with all the dramas and all her drawings. She did 129, I think, Meteor Garden drawings specifically. Yeah, she's got a bunch of them. So I reached out to her, and she's huge. She's huge in the Instagram community. And I said, hey girl, could you drop down this tag for me? And she was like, yeah, sure. And she dropped down on a couple of them. I can't ask her to do 129 of them, but she did on a couple of them. I was like, look at her. She's awesome. So that's the fan art. So I think right now we have maybe 130 pieces of fan art that have been tagged that do not include her 129 pieces. I mean, these are from different artists and things.
Oh my word.
Yeah. And then the other one, of course, is the covers that people have done and uploaded onto Instagram, because they're just incredibly talented people out there singing the, original soundtrack songs. It's just, I mean, people are awesome. People are incredible. So yeah, it's huge. It is huge. And I say it all the time. It's not huge here, but it's blowing up in another part of the world. It is blowing up, and we just need to share it. Just get it out. Get the word out.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that, because I mean, Marie Claire and I have talked about this a little bit on the show so far, is that there's this need for international distribution for television shows and media right now, that people are unsatisfied with what they have in their home country. And because they're connecting with people all over the world, they want to connect with their media. They want to share stories together. And what a cooler way than, what you're doing is the perfect example of that. It's this whole community coming together from all over the world. And it is illustrating how relatable this story is. And it's showing how we can connect through the simplest of things and the simplest of stories. So
exactly.
I love that.
Yes. And I think that it underscores the whole thing of, let's consider how long ago it aired.
Right.
Okay. And how we are still here talking about it.
Right.
And not not like fangirling saying, oh my God, he's adorable, which goes on. And I participate in. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm saying that the levels of the discussion is so elevated at this point, and it's happening everywhere, that it is, it's just amazing. And I think it shows and it reinforces that we have much more in common than you would think, than we have not in common, I guess.
That's a good way to put it. We have more in common than we don't. Whenever you contacted me on Twitter, I think you said something along the lines of, I'm trying still to decipher all of the whys. And I thought that was the most amazing way of putting it, because I was doing the same thing when you contacted me. And even though like Marie Claire and I had begun watching dramas when we did a little bit earlier, I still, I'm pretty young, and Marie Claire and I hadn't been watching dramas for very long. There's plenty of people who've been watching dramas a lot longer, but there was something about Meteor Garden that was weird. There was something that stood out, and something that connected with me emotionally that nothing else has before or since. So
yes.
That's pretty clear. Like, I think even in our first episode, when we talked about it very lightly, we both talked about how strange it was and how we connected to it on that level. And I have my own beliefs about why, but it's kind of more fun to explore that through how you're exploring it with other people, and with the oh my God, the fan fiction is incredible. The kinds of depth that people go into on Instagram. And I just want to go ahead. I want to make sure we don't glaze over this, but I want to make sure we get your ats said so that people can look this up.
Okay, great. Because I should have chosen a better name, because it's just so long. It's Every Outfit on Meteor Garden 2018. That is where I am deciphering every level of detail. Like, no level is too small or too, no level. We're discussing it all. And then the tribute is actually the Meteor Garden International, and that's INTL, Fandom Tribute. And so the Fandom Tribute, I call it the McGift, because those are the initials, the McGift account, is where all the events, whatever event we're doing that week, you can go there for all the information. You can go back and look at all the parades of, all the countries, and, I keep updating them because new ones keep coming up and I'm so excited. We just got, an account opened up in Norway and she contacted me and she said, could you add me? And I said, absolutely, I would love to add you. So the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
So it's just updated as quickly as I can update it. And we generally do about 2 events a week, and it's a very casual affair because it's, we're serious about the fandom, but it is a very casual, people's lives are busy. So y'all come on to the account when you get a chance, enjoy, have fun while you're here. And we'll see when you can come back. I mean, it's, it's not we're not married to the timeline of it.
Right.
So those are the two. And on the McGift account, they're all the ones all the participating accounts. You can go into the countries and see which ones are in your country if you're unaware, or which ones are delivering content in what languages and things like that. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So everyone make sure to follow those accounts if you're interested at all, or if you're on Instagram, because I'm not a big Instagram person. I'm definitely more of a Twitter person, but every time I go on Instagram, the bulk of what I consume is what's coming from Lindy's accounts, and the stuff that I follow because of Lindy. So like I said, I was very shocked to see kind of the breadth of this fandom, and what they're putting out is amazing.
And we want more.
Yes.
I am not satisfied. I want more.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. So like when did you get involved in this? I think you said somewhere in like August, or that's when did you discover Meteor Garden?
Okay, I want to take you on my journey, because this journey, I am very fond of saying yes to the universe when the universe sends me things. And I towards the middle of the summer, I felt like I was having this experience that was themed. And I swore out it was the summer of all things Asians. Like all things Asians were coming my way. Because you remember, Crazy Rich Asians was huge this summer.
Yes.
And the impact of that movie on Hollywood, and just kind of, it just blew up. You couldn't not see it. But my journey actually started with the Book of the Month Club. I had gotten a book called The Kissing Quotient, and it is by Helen Hoang, Hoang. And it is, the Kissing Quotient is kind of like it's a reverse Pretty Woman. It's the best description for it. And it had a character in it who was, I feel like he was half Swedish, half Korean, I want to say. And so and he talked about how people mostly thought he looked like, I think it's Daniel Henney. And I had no idea who Daniel Henney was, had no idea. So I go on Google, and because nowadays you just don't absorb an experience. You're in an experience and then immediately you're on your phone looking up things that you don't know. So I looked up Daniel Henney and I thought, I think he's a Kdrama actor. I think that's who it was. And I thought to myself, I have no idea what Kdrama is. Okay. And I just kept moving on with life. And then Crazy Rich Asians came along. And I loved it. I read all 3 books, saw the movie, loved it. Can't wait for more and more and more of these stories to come out. Then the beauty that is Netflix said, because I had watched Schitt's Creek on Netflix, it said, here's another pop original you might like, Kim's Convenience. And I said, yes, let's do it. And I watched it and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And from there, they said, well, if you love Kim's Convenience, well, why don't you try, first on the list, Meteor Garden? And I said, don't mind if I do. And it was I tell you, Ty, it was a weekend that was just meant for this show, because it was a weekend that it was just nothing but rain forecasted. And it was early Saturday morning, and I knew I was going to binge. I knew I was going to binge something all weekend.
Oh, wow.
And when I saw that there were 21 episodes of Meteor Garden, I said, let's do it. And I clicked on the first one, and honestly, it was like a bomb had gone off in my head. I got to the end of that show. I got to the end of it, and I literally, I was alone in my bedroom, but I literally sat up, looked around as if I was surrounded by people, and I was like, what did I just see? What was that? What was that? what was that? Like, I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't comprehend what I watched. And then when I went back to the beginning to watch the opening credits, I said, I'm sorry, what? She winds up with him? No. I don't see this happening. I do not see this happening. And that's literally how it started for me, where I just could not believe how there were creative forces who would actually take you through that first episode, end it the way they ended it, and yet have it be like the way it was gonna. I was like, it's impossible. It's impossible. And so that's why I stayed. I said, I don't believe it. It's not possible. And here I am. And here
here you are.
Yes.
That is amazing. Oh my God. That is amazing. And I think there's a lot of people that had a very similar experience to yours, which is the coolest thing about this, right? Is that we can relate to each other on this very strange level, especially if we're coming from the US, if we're in a certain age bracket, we've been experiencing similar media before, we are desperately looking for something different. There's a lot of us out there.
Right.
So you're watching Meteor Garden for the first time, the first 21 episodes that you can watch.
Yes.
And what was the moment that really clicked for you? What was the moment where you became hooked? I'm assuming it was the first episode. It had to be.
Okay. The first episode was basically where I decided there ain't no way it's going to get where they say it's going to get. There's just no way. So I watched episode 2, and episode 2, I was like, yeah, what'd I tell you? But then episode 3 comes along, and we're at the beach, Ty. And the beach in episode 3, everyone knows on my account. If you were to go out there today or right now and ask them, what is her favorite? What is Lindy's favorite episode? Everyone with immediately episode 3, Sonia Beach episode, like Sonia Beach scene. Take her there. When she's not happy, that's where we can find her. Episode 3. And at that point, I was so in. I was so in. And I thought, I don't know how this has happened. I don't know. I don't know how she's come for me this way. Because and I have like this very personal relationship in my head with Angie and with Sharon Mau, who is the screenwriter for this, and she actually did the last one as well. And I feel like, I sit here and I watch and I just like have these conversations. I'm like, girl, what you thinking? What you thinking? Let's consider your choices, Angie. Look at your choices. And I think that's the thing, is that that it's just so incredulous. But like the podcast, I totally fell for it. Episode 3, it was done.
That was it.
That was it. But then episode 4 comes around, and like you have this moment where you're like, I'm out. You know what you've done? You've gone too far, people. Then you say to yourself, but wait a minute, I'm watching these opening credits again. What is going on? I don't understand it. So I consider Angie a genius, and all of her editing staff a genius, to whoever did those opening credits, because yes, that's why I stayed for the first 21. That's why I stayed.
Totally agree. I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh, this is what I'm in for. I'm in. Let's do this.
I didn't even see a trailer. Until it was all done. And then because literally I am sitting here watching these episodes with my phone in my hand, and there was no information out there in English. There was practically nothing out there in English. Not an article really that delved into the choices that were made, except for the costuming. Like, people seriously did not care for this costuming. And I thought, no, there was a decision made about that costuming, and we need to figure out what that is, which is why the account is called Every Outfit on Meteor Garden.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah. So we delved into, we went deep. You went deep.
Yeah.
So deep.
That's honestly, that's the coolest thing in the world to me, because about a year ago, when I was kind of going through this journey, but I was going through it with Star Wars, but I consider this all to be the same journey,
Yes.
because it led me to Asian dramas, and
Mm.
Asian dramas has now led me to this whole world where love is kind of ultimate the ultimate thing that you live for, and different types of
Right.
love, obviously, but
Right.
romantic love is a great thing, and growing up and figuring out who you are and then finding love through that is really important in the
Right.
types of media that I'm interested in now. And
Mhm.
I don't know how much you've heard about some of our other episodes, but we're kind of going through this weird heroine's journey with this
Mhm.
pod, in a way that's experiencing our femininity from like a totally different perspective for the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time.
Mhm.
And it's so funny that you sound like so exasperated, because
Because it makes you question everything, Ty. It makes you
yes,
question everything. Everything is on the table. Everything is on the table.
everything's
Like,
on the table.
yeah.
And like you said, like a lot of people were concerned about the costume choices. I remember I did the same thing. I was looking at things online. Like,
Mhm.
I loved the oversized jackets. I thought it was awesome. Um,
Hers are F4s because these are very different
oh,
things.
I liked both, but the
Okay.
F4 specifically, I adored it. And then when I went
Oh, yeah.
online and started like looking at the criticisms, I was so concerned with some people's criticisms,
Right.
because I didn't have the background that some people had when it came to
Right.
drama. So I didn't know why they were criticizing it.
Right.
But the
Right.
way that I think that's really fascinating, the way that you took that and you delved into that, because a lot
Mhm.
of people delve into the music, they delve
Mhm.
into the characters, but to
Mhm.
take something as simple as the costuming is
Right.
really, really, really cool.
Okay, let me say this.
Uh-huh.
I forgot to mention this last one. To
Mhm.
All the Boys I Loved Before, which was a huge hit, of course, at the
Yes.
same time. I'm going to forget her name, but the costume designer for that show
Hmm.
was interviewed, and I do remember because I wanted to figure out. I just wanted more information because, again, people, I am not a professional. I do not do this for a living, and I just am incredibly curious, and I want answers. I want the why.
Right.
So I remember costume. I actually Googled costume designer Netflix, and I can't remember what else. And this interview came up with the costume designer of To All the Boys I Loved Before,
Hmm.
and she had a great article about how she did um, all the costumes for. Is it Laura Jean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, for her. And it just made sense that you meet a character visually first, and so then she took care to consider silhouettes and colors and palette and all these things. And so I was so intrigued by this that I sent her an Instagram message, and I was like, because why not? And
Yeah.
I said, I read this article. I was really glad that you gave this interview and the depth that you gave the information, because I'm doing this little thing over here with this little show called Meteor Garden, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm trying to convince people, that there is such a level of like fine storytelling going on
Yep.
visually before any words are spoken, and we can't ignore it. And so she wrote back, and she was like, "Hey, thanks. Yeah, it was great fun, and yeah, it was. I'm really glad everyone enjoyed her costumes so well, and all that." And then when I heard that there was going to be a second one, I wrote back and I said, "Oh my gosh, heard there's a second one. I hope you get the gig." And she's like, "Thanks. I hope so too." So. um,
That is so
and,
cute.
yeah, and I think that for me, the more that we went into it, it became more of a celebration of the behind the scenes heroes that made these
Yeah.
choices, put this production together, and here we are all these months still in awe of it. But the
Right.
costuming itself was amazing, and I laughed. I think I probably at the very beginning I got better. The long I've got over 3,000 posts on this stinking thing, and I'm only on episode 41. I'm only on episode 41.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of detail, and I swear the first probably 50 posts were all about, you know, their coats and size wardrobe and how much I loved all of it. And again, I'm not a professional. I just like what I like, but that was amazing. And I swear that I think their production was like 24 million, I think is what the budget was. And I swear half of that was his coats. Half was.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Had to have been.
I hope he stole some of those coats from the set. I hope they're hanging in his closet.
I agree. Some of those outfits that he had were just amazing. He looked,
oh my gosh!
I thought he looked amazing in a lot of those coats, but
he looks
some people,
so
some people tend to disagree.
Yes, and this is one of the things that one of the things I really do love is that I tell people all the time, we're going to disagree. In fact, if you don't agree with me, please tell me you don't agree with me. That's the fun of it, because Absolutely. Why do I want to start, you know, a conversation and have everyone say, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right. No. Tell me how I'm wrong. Let's learn from this. And I think we can discuss anything as long as we're being respectful about it. And so
Absolutely.
For the most part.
Yeah, more perspective, more diversity in the fandom is always a good thing.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so for those people, and because Instagram is such a, you know, international, worldwide thing, you know, some are held back by their English.
Yes.
And so I say, no. You can say what you want. You know, we figure it out. Because don't hold yourself back. Plenty of other people want to hold you back. Don't hold yourself back. Say it. It's only Instagram. We don't know each other. Come on.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And to go back to what you said about kind of the fact that Meteor Garden is created by lots of different people, you know, the costumers are a big part of Meteor Garden.
I want to be their best friends, Ty.
Yeah.
I want
I can see that. That's awesome.
Yes.
And there's something to say about that, because Meteor Garden was, I think that's what makes it so special, is that, or it's one of the things, right, that makes it so special, is that you can tell the level of grandeur that this was produced on. But a lot of Chinese dramas tend to be, on this level, they're usually period pieces. They're usually historicals or fantasy epics. And the fact that they, you know, Angie Kai being the genius that she is, she wanted to take this story and make it on the same scale as something that was like a fantasy epic, but make it a modern story for a new generation of women. That was really special. And the fact that she had this team behind her and under her that were putting their own little special perspectives and their idea of what this love story was. I think honestly that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And okay, let's go back to something that I feel that we need to discuss, and about how basically Meteor Garden is, I feel like, a great example of soft diplomacy, and such a great example of it. But it is so subversive. Honest to God, it is. I watch it and I'm like, I don't even know. I feel like at this point, I'm not an expert on like Chinese censorship, but I am very aware of it. And I think when I watch some of these things, I think she is so subversive, Miss Angie. She really is. And the costuming alone is amazing. The fact that Sai wears earrings alone is amazing. You know, there are all these different levels, and I think, I don't want them to go over people's heads. I'm like, this is not just a drama. This is a statement. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's not forget that, you know, there are things being done and said that are really just amazing.
Well, and like you said, you know, we no longer consume media in a vacuum. Like, we don't just consume it and that's it. A lot of people do look up things on their phone. I remember when I was watching Meteor Garden and I was looking up, okay, like, why so much product placement, you know? Like,
oh my gosh.
Like, why is this happening so often?
Yes.
And honestly, you can start to piece together things. Once you get a little bit of information, you go on to the next episode, you get a little bit more, and then you go,
Mhm.
oh, and you start reading between the lines a little bit
Yes.
more. And it becomes that much more impressive what they were able to, like you said, like what they were able to get away with.
Yes.
The
Yes.
more you watch it, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying, it's just, I think that there are some frustrations. Oh my gosh. There's some frustrations if we can delve into probably one of the most discussed posts that I had ever thrown down was when I brought up what's up with the kissing? Like, what's up with this?
Oh, wait, like as in when I didn't see this post, but are we talking about like
early on?
we're talking about like how like the girl stays very still?
Yes. And so it was okay. I make it very firm. We can talk about the characters all we want. We can talk about the writing all we want. The professionals and I guess the storyline, all of that, that's all fair game. But I don't want to delve into the actors' personal lives. They're actual people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not cross over and just just make these statements that we really don't have a right or even are knowledgeable about enough to make these statements on. So, but the kissing came up, and I was just, when I tell you that I delved into the Google sphere to see what were the rules about kissing on Chinese, dramas, I delved pretty hard, and I thought there's got to be a reason. I just kept asking everyone, "What's the reason?" And they were like, "Oh, he's young." I was like, "No, like, no, we're not even no." Mm-hmm. There's got to be a reason. And they're like, "No, she's just that way in person." Nope. And I thought, and I kept telling people, I was like, "No, let's just entertain the notion that they were both fairly innocent people. 7 minutes of heaven will go ahead and just clear any of that away. They will get very used to each other. They will be told what to do, how to do it, and you will get a believable kiss at the end of those 7 minutes. I am very sure of it. No, this is a choice. These kisses are a decision. And why? And is it because of, their interest in making sure that she doesn't come across a certain way? Mm-hmm. And why is it that it's important that she doesn't come across a certain way? Mm-hmm. And then, and that was at war with this other theory that I had of how come her work uniforms are the best fitting garments on her? I mean, when you look at all the things that she wore, the most fitted, it was just her work uniforms. And I thought, what are they trying to say? Like, I took offense. What are they trying to tell us? Mm-hmm. That we should be good girls and that we should not respond to advances and that we should be diligent at our work and not. What are they trying to say? Because I'm not buying it.
And you haven't, I'm assuming you haven't really come across any straightforward answers, but you have your own ideas about it, obviously.
I do. And I think that the only thing because again, this is the only drama I've ever seen. Right. The only thing that's going to get me probably more answers is the more Chinese dramas I actually consume. Yeah. I think that's, just seeing what, how much of it was like Angie's choice that this is the way it should be portrayed, or was it really kind of something that you see across the board, which I know that it is listening to your podcast. Mm-hmm. And so, but the degree seems to be really high. Yes. In Meteor Garden, because let's face it, we talked about, I think it was episode 40 or 39, where they were like sitting on the sofa waiting for Simon to show up, and they were like, cuddling up on the sofa, and it threw everyone into overdrive, like everyone. So I thought, they have skewed our expectations so much that their cuddling on the sofa has us all like with heart emojis, eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was something about that. I remember when it was on. It was still airing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was following various Meteor Garden accounts on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very open to spoilers, and I've basically seen the entire show through just these accounts, through GIFs and
Okay.
pictures and whatnot.
Right.
I saw it long before I saw the show on Netflix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't know. God, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did, and because I was fascinated, and there
Mm-hmm.
is something to say about how they were able to put you in the palm of their hand and say, I'm going to take you here, and now I'm going to
Oh,
here, and now I'm going to take you here. And
right.
like you said, it's in every single detail of every single scene.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that, and so much so that there can be a kiss a couple of episodes ago, and then the next episode they can maybe not touch at all, and
Right.
the next episode they can touch just a little bit, and that can be everything.
Yes. You had mentioned skinship in, I think, maybe your second to last episode. Uh,
Yeah, I don't remember which one, but yes.
yes, skinship. And I had done a post about it. So I was so excited when you discussed it as well. And I did a post like a long time ago about it because I was I was using it to kind of explain the pacing of this,
Hmm.
because the pace of their relationship is so like I'm not going to call it slow. I'm just going to call it very methodical. It is
Right.
very, very like plodding along, and there's two steps forward, one step back kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it is, and I've just determined that you can't walk back skinship. Like you can't undo what you've done. There's only but so much you can do. And
Yeah, I think Marie Claire actually one time she put it in a way that was funny because it always comes up in my head. Every time I watch a drama now, I think about this because she said there's a moment in every drama where the two are like the north and south magnetic poles,
uh-huh.
and they snap together.
Yes.
And then from that moment on, they can try to pull apart, but they're always going to snap back together eventually. So
Yes.
that's how I think about it now. And I think it's not even, people try to say a lot of these dramas do a lot of slow burn. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure, they do slow burn, but it's not just slow burn because it's not gradual.
Right.
It's it's very it's very much a roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you even question your own sanity and their sanity.
Exactly.
But that's what makes it endearing, and that's what makes it interesting, and that's what makes it relatable.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point because here it is, I'm recapping episode 41 currently, and it is the taxi scene, where
Hmm.
he shows up, and it's very much like, because I know from the opening credits that because I have not finished the show yet. I still haven't watched 45 through 49 yet.
Hmm.
Um, but from the opening credits, you're like, no, there are some of these scenes where they're very much a couple and I have not seen them yet. So I know
Yes.
things are going to work out for them. There's not going to be some sort of like crazy thing where she ends up with Lay. No. She is clearly going to be with Sai.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's just, there's such a roller coaster, and we need the roller coaster. Perhaps we are addicted to the dopamine provided by these roller coasters, but it is I think it's the thing that translates so well throughout the fandom.
Yeah.
Sarcasm doesn't translate as well, jokes also don't necessarily translate as well, but this translates completely. We all get it.
Yeah. And what do you think that is about that? Let's start with you. What is do you have anything at all that's related to the two mains or anyone within this drama that you personally connect to, whether it's their story or their personality traits?
Um, you see, that is, I would hate to have like an actual relationship like theirs.
Yeah.
It's so, it's so, it's so crazy. It's so just next level. It's just everywhere. But I think what I love about it is just kind of like And it's a beautiful thing that they started off with his the tenacity of his love. I mean, oh my gosh, the tenacity of his love. And I think that kind of is the thing that that speaks to you, you know, it's just like, yeah, there are all these other reasons why she should not be with him. Oh my gosh. But there is this sureness about him until there isn't, but there is this sureness about him. And then there is this, which, you know, if you've been in love and you know, you've found someone that you've decided, yep, we're going to do it. This is forever. That tenacity is like, it's the best thing. That's what you want. You're like, yeah, it's there. There's no one else. This is it. And
right.
That's it.
I agree, and sometimes I wonder if that's why like older women are more likely to relate to some of these dramas, or especially Meteor Garden, than some younger ones, or maybe even it's just we relate to them a different way because we understand that the journey, and it's not about being. How do I say this? When you fall in love with someone, it's not about peace. It's not about being sure in a very like peaceful way. It's more so about knowing that like, hey, I would do anything to make this work. I would fight the biggest demons to make this work. And that means the demons within myself or the demons within that other person. Right. So, and that's hard. Like that's like a hard realization. And that's something that, you know, a lot of younger people watch the drama, watch Meteor Garden. And if they love it, some of them might take away some skewed beliefs about love, but others might take away kind of a realness about love, which is that love is not always going to save you. Like sometimes love is about like figuring out who you are and what you need.
And I think that, and on that same vein, I think that, you know, being in a committed relationship with someone is going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do. You know, aside from, you know, losing loved ones, you know, and just, you know, something like that. But it is not, I mean, what? That you don't get along with your mother-in-law? Absolutely, that's going to happen. To this point, no, but she will make you cry for sure at some point. I mean, it's plausible. Or that, you know, things will get in between you. Yes, it is all of that. It's not to this degree, but I think that that's one of the things of, you know, probably from an older perspective, when you look at it and you're just like, yeah, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Like the whole meeting, dating, falling in love, making the decision, those are easy. It's the whole sticking to it is just hard. And so it's nice, I think, and I think it's true in that, you know, at some points, one person is the stronger person in the relationship and is carrying the relationship. And then at another point, it's the other person who says, yeah, I hear you. I see that you're whining, but I'm going to go ahead and keep us together until you get your mess straight. And then they're carrying it through. And that's, you see that here, you know?
Yeah, you do. So we've talked a lot about kind of like the personal stuff, and we talked a lot about, the relationships, and I kind of want to dive into more of the outfit stuff because I think we've...
Yes, let's.
And I know you have like a totally different perspective than I do, than I've ever come across before. I think your Instagram account is the only place I've seen delve into the kind of analysis that you're doing, honestly.
Thank you. Yeah. It's crazy. It is. But it was, I do have some very favorite theories. And it's, again, I started writing the account after seeing the first 21. So, I mean, there was still a lot left to go. And after seeing the first 21, I was just seeing these similarities in some of these things. And I just started, I was like, nope, there are choices, there are reasons, stuff is happening, and don't ignore it. Just don't ignore it. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was Shansai's costumes, her wardrobe, and how there was such a huge outcry about why was she dressed so poorly? Why does she look like, as my favorite line was, an unmade bed? Why does she look like in the very beginning? Why? Because it is, I mean, you could not have had a better illustration of the class difference between F4 and Shansai, except for this like the wardrobe perfectly did it. It was just, every time every time a new costume, something was on the screen, I would stop and I'd be like, what story are you telling me now, babe? Because you're just bringing it out here. And for her, I started this theory. I'm like, no, people, I'm telling you, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There is a story going on with hers. And I'm telling you right now, we just have to watch it. And so I started kind of feeling out what I thought was kind of her uniform. Mm-hmm. And it was like, she was always in, she had jeans, and some of them were baggy, some of them not so baggy. She had t-shirts and just that had writing on it. She had cardigans and oversized sweaters, and her hair was up, it was down, it was braided, it was not, and all that. And I said, no, we're just going to keep count of all these different things, even her backpack. Which backpack? How many backpacks? When does she have it? When does she not have it? And we just kept track of this stuff. I mean, we just kept track of it. And towards episode 21, I said, no, here's what's happening. There is an evolution of her through, and it's coming to us through her wardrobe. Mm-hmm. Her character is changing. Her wardrobe is changing. And I predict, and I just threw it out, I was like, I predict we'll see her evolve from the beginning to the end. And there'll be a really sizable difference. We will notice how her maturity is kind of personified through her costuming. It'll be so obvious to us. Mm-hmm. And so there were colors like the Holy Trinity palette is what I called it. And it is Sai's Holy Trinity palette. At the beginning, that was the white, the black, the red. And the red, of course, is the color of, of power, and it's just, and the black, the whole, the black. And so I thought, no, let's realize that this is his Holy Trinity palette, but so many times she is in a muted Holy Trinity palette. Like, she's wearing a lot of pinks, people. She wears a lot of grays. Let's realize that there's a connection here. And then towards, let's see, I don't know, episode 29, maybe, I think, Sai's wardrobe goes through a complete change as well. I mean, you see him at the beginning, and he is always in full battle gear, which I loved every minute of. Every second of battle gear side that we saw was just an amazing, just tableau of just look for us. Yeah. And so I loved it, but he mid drama was starting to change as well. And so what I saw was, and I think episode 29, we had this huge farewell to the pineapple. I mean, we just said, we're like, this is huge, people. This is like, it's just another level of storytelling. And I absolutely have just hounded the hairdressers that I think are responsible for this pineapple. And I have tagged them in all of these things. And bless his heart, Hank, I probably just annoyed the snot out of, because I'm like, listen, I hope, and I've had some things translated so that hopefully that he would understand that I come in peace, and I just love everything that he's doing. But the pineapple was, it was his armor. It was the pricklier the pineapple, the more ticked off he was. And so when we saw it leave, it was his choice. There was a reason why we don't see Sai with a pineapple in episode 41. He's no longer the same person. It's done. That time is done. Mm-hmm. And so then at that point, his palette starts to change more towards the blues, and hers has always been blue. And so then you see that their palettes are now different. He doesn't wear, the black, red, and white quite so much. He's a little bit more blue, and blue is, from, the color wheel, we all know that blue is just kind of like a warmer, fuzzier, just emotive color than red, let's say. And so their wardrobes, they just start to look much more similar. She's a little bit more polished. He's a little bit more relaxed, and they're kind of meeting in the middle. And so do their wardrobes. And I cannot wait to see how it ends, because I don't know how it ends. And I'd love to see what she looks like at the end. I don't know what she looks like at the end. And everyone, and I remind them, I'm like, listen, I may eat my words, but this is what I think all this means. And it's just really just amazing, just to watch the change of it. So, yeah.
Well, I'm very glad that you haven't had it spoiled for you.
Oh, I have had some things spoiled.
Okay.
I have had some things, and I try very hard to stay away from pictures. Oh, when it first ended, it was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And people were sending me things saying, stay away from this account, they're talking about blah, blah, blah. And stay away from that account, they're talking about blah, blah, blah. And so,
good.
Yeah.
But people that look out for you.
They are out. I can't. And I'd love to take this segue to just kind of like give a quick shout out to the level of just these women who, so much of them we call ourselves the Shameless Gang, because honest to goodness, we're completely shameless. And
good.
It is amazing. And I think, and I say this for just about everyone who does any kind of content, it is amazing how much time and effort you put into all of this.
Mm-hmm.
You give up lots of different things like sleep and hanging out in real life with real people to put together your content. And it's a passion project. And I will say that from the very beginning, there is just a handful, there are many, many, but a handful of girls who we have just taken this to a level that I cannot even imagine. And so Team Wazile, who is, she is from, I'll call her D, she is from Brunei. Am I saying that country right? Yeah. She's from there, and she was like the first person that I found on Instagram, and she didn't know me from anyone, and I hounded her. I was like, okay, first of all, how do you do this? Like all these technical questions, but also I was just like, I can't stand lay, and I need to discuss this with someone. So you're it, because there's no one else out here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm telling you, he is just, you got to watch him. And she's like, what are you talking about? And so she and I, like, we would just hound each other on each other's, like, Instagram accounts. And everyone knew that it was all in good fun.
Yeah.
Because I tag her. I would say, come defend your boy. Like, come pick him up. I'm done with him. And she'd try, and, we would just amazing. And I'm so beholden to her. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Linda, who is Linda's fangirling, and she is in Italy, and she is just, she started off doing this level of following the music. And because the music, if Psy is mad, what song are we listening to, Ty?
Like a river.
Exactly. I mean, there was a point where I actually wrote down on the post saying, Angie, could you give us a moment to just go ahead and decide for ourselves what kind of mood he's in? I don't need to be fed all the time, baby. I see him. I see he's in black. I see his pineapple on his head. We're good. Because it was so relentless.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so she was following the music and when it was used and all the permutations of this music. I mean, the music on the album is just a small sampling of all the music that was used in this drama. And we want it all. I mean, if they could just go ahead and throw out something that's just complete instrumentals, we would be thrilled to death about that.
I agree.
And then that's Linda. And then we have V, who is in France, and she's the one who does the Lost in Meteor Garden translation. And she's, and I tell her, I'm like, your content is just so well thought out. I don't even know. But she is translating, Chinese is such a complex language, and it's such a beautiful lyrical language, and it is very metaphorical, and she is telling us and reminding us that this is what was actually said in Chinese. And look at everything that was lost in translation when it was translated into these 4 other languages. And so she'll go ahead and she'll delve into that kind of detail. And so if there is a historical reference that was made that's lost on us, she will go ahead and bring that to the table. If it's just V is amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And I absolutely love her. And so she actually is incredibly tenacious and will go and find things and keep just a category. She actually is our librarian and all the new words we've ever created for these accounts, because we fangirl with lots of new words and we make up some we borrow from different languages, and she just keeps that all for us. And she's amazing. And then this other shout out I have to give, because I did not read I didn't even know that Hana Yoridango was out there. I didn't even know it was out there. And so Aya, who does the MG 2018 comparisons, actually compares the original source material to the drama, and she fills in all those beautiful blanks for us. And it's amazing, because sometimes, you just don't know what was meant, or you don't know, like, for example, Jing, I was like, I don't trust her. Who else is with me? I don't trust her. So she was like, well, this is what she's like in the original, and this is, and this is the intent behind what she's saying. I was like, yeah. Still, I don't trust her. I think, but I don't trust her, and yet I want her filet. So what does that say about me? So, but all these different levels, and then we now have new accounts for someone who I like knighted on the account, because this is the kind of mess I do. I knight people, and I call her Dame, and she's from Canada. And Dame actually is just an amazing source of information, and she can find anything and anyone anywhere in the United States, like any piece of information. She's so good. And so she has now started an account where she's finding, it's called Finding Daoming Sai, and she's doing all the locations in China. And
wow.
Yeah. And then the filming schedule, like, she's doing it all. It's amazing. I mean, she needs to go ahead and open up a tour business when she's done.
Oh yeah.
And then there's Ingrid at Poison Ivy 0325, who, if you're on the account, you know her. She writes fan fiction, and she's amazing. And she and I, in general, I guess I'm a prude, but around her, wow, she really brings it out in me. So she's leaving all sorts of nonsense out there in the comments, and I'm chasing behind her like some sort of Keystone cop, telling her, hey, quit it. And she's leaving all sorts of mess. And she floors me. She's hilarious. And I think just about everyone knows that she and I are very good friends at this point. And that when she leaves something for me, that it's very intentional, that she's egging me on. And I am like sitting in my bedroom, reading these comments, blushing, and telling her, oh my God, stop.
I can relate.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes. So these women and so many more, but these women are just, I mean, the amount of compassion and just support, and just, it's amazing. It's just amazing. So I so appreciative. Love them to them.
That is so sweet. I'm so glad that you found this community of women, and a similar thing has happened to me, like with this whole journey of mine. But it's really cool. It's really, really, really cool. I hope that continues on as long as it possibly can. And I hope that you continue to share that kind of experience with all of them, whether it's through Meteor Garden or whether it's through something else or whatever. But what was the very first post that you made about Meteor Garden on Instagram?
It is my profile picture. It is those green shoes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
With Shanzai like reaching for her phone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And and again, I went back and to read it, and because I do have 3,000 posts and I'm not done yet, which is ludicrous. I did go back and I labeled all the posts by episode. So if you wanted to see all the things I'd written about the first episode, you would just go and look up on Instagram, #1MG2018. And, so episode 481 would be #41MG2018. I went back and I looked at it, and it was so funny because I compared it to Cinderella's glass slipper because I was like, it carried the whole, there was so much expectation behind this green shoe. There was so much, it was just, so much was delivered by that green shoe. And I absolutely, absolutely loved it. And really I put down my vision for basically this entire thing because I just wanted to set the mood. And I said, okay, this is how I came to this show through Netflix. This is what is blowing my mind, and this is how I want to go ahead and discuss it. And and I just laid it out. And I did make the distinction, which I think is a very important distinction. You may have opinions about all sorts of things, and you're all welcome to your opinions. But let's make sure we remember that there were choices made by professionals, and all of those choices are on the table. But we are not here to discuss how you don't like this actor, you don't like that actress, or whatever. No. We're not here to discuss any of that. You can find that in other places. We're not here for that. And then it was very slow going. I think the first month, I think maybe, and after a month, I had 100 followers, maybe.
Oh, wow.
And I was like thrilled, absolutely thrilled, because we were having discussions, and I'm not on Instagram for likes. That's not what I'm here for. I enjoy it very much when I throw a post down and it is such a topic that was apparently on everyone's mind that we very quickly have like 64 comments in, just drop down there. And, some people will come and just say, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I'm like, cool. Yes, because I need you to understand that there are levels here to this thing. And and you need to be looking at it at this level. And I'll get to one of those levels in a minute. Or the other part where someone's like, you're completely wrong. And I'm like, tell me how I am wrong. Because I have no doubts that I'm wrong. Just, we're moving at the speed of Instagram, people. I am throwing down 10 posts a day, most days.
Yep.
So we are, there are things that are really bothering me, and I'm asking questions, and I'm saying, someone please explain this to me because I don't get it at all. And then people explain certain things to me. Or there are things where I think were missed opportunities, and I bring those things up. Or I just want to talk about how beautifully lit a scene is, because the lighting people in this, production were not paid enough because this is beautifully lit, or, just stuff like that. Or that the editing team really did an amazing job with storytelling and getting things said in just the quick cuts that were being delivered to us. And that in itself needs to be appreciated. The actors are a very small part in this entire production. I mean, they're a big part, but they're a small part. So let's look at all of it.
Because it wouldn't have worked even if they were good actors. It wouldn't have worked if the production hadn't come together the way it did around them. So
exactly. It is. I think one of the things that we loved, and because we are such a bloodthirsty crowd, all the fight scenes that happen, and particularly like this last fight scene that he had with his mom, and where she slapped him. And we were just like, all right, we're going to sit here for a minute. We're going to be intentional about what we've just seen. And let's realize that there was a cameraman up in here with all of this happening. And then someone said, which is a beautiful thing, someone said, oh, he discussed this on the inn. And so we know that he did not know he was going to get slapped. So then that brought a whole other like level of, oh, that's interesting. So they had done a couple of runs. The director pulled him aside and said, hey, listen, we're going to do it one more time. This is where we want you to do. And so he, Dylan went into that scene thinking it was going to be the same. And then he gets slapped. And he holds it. And he holds it. That's the beautiful thing about it. He got slapped and he held his spot like he was supposed to. And then the scene continued. And that whole fight scene was one take. And I was like, can we just sit here and appreciate the fact that that was all one take? There's no editing. It was all one take, people.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's just amazing. And I need people to like realize that these things are happening. That these camera angles and the composition and just all of this is amazing, people. Yes.
It is. It goes back to the idea that this is all, there's so many people involved in this whole thing. It wasn't just one person. It wasn't just the actors. It's not just the chemistry or whatever, but it's a whole team of people that make it happen. And that's exciting.
I know. I find that so exciting. And so I want to bring it back to the writing for a quick second if I can.
Please.
The writing and the screenwriter Sharon Mau, who I read, worked with some other, I think some other Chinese writers to kind of get get the feel of maybe flow. And I don't know that she speaks Chinese fluently. I don't know, but I do know that she did do the screenwriting for this. You're watching this and and there are two authors that I felt were like had such a huge presence in this. And one of them was William Faulkner, which I know the first day I said it, I was like, y'all are going to laugh at me, but I swear to you, all of this water that is in Meteor Garden is killing me, and it's feeling very William Faulkner. And the second one was how close to Pride and Prejudice it is. Mm-hmm. And so all throughout the scene, and how there's a fair amount of Shakespeare in there too. So all of this stuff, we just kept, I kept throwing these things out and saying, I know you think it's crazy, but I want you to realize that whenever there is water around Psy, there is a mood in this room. There is a mood. And so I called it the Psy water allegory. And I talked about, all the different scenes where, like, of course, the rain. And one scene where he's just sitting there contemplating a glass of water. And another scene where he's in a complete funk and right in front of him is a bottle of water. And like there are all these different things. And then of course ending it with and then what song do we always hear when he's in like these moods? River. So all of that. I was like, you can't convince me anymore. I'm telling you right now, someone on that writing team loves some Faulkner. That's it. I can't be convinced otherwise. And then Psy's whole confession to Shansai when he says, I'll follow you to Mars. He's like, I don't know why I love you. I just do. Well, if that is not Mr. Darcy, if that is not Darcy right there,
Yeah, definitely.
And so we were just, and then this whole London arc and how, the whole farce feel of, because it's a shift. Things change in London. And so that the buskers are literally at the feet of William Shakespeare's, statue in the park. And it's just the farce of that entire arc starts at that point. And so I'm like, no, people, I'm telling you, this is not just young actors in amazing costumes and amazing hair. It's just so many levels of it. Just so many levels.
Yeah. And again, it's going back to that idea of that this needs to be a universal story that can relate to everyone. As Chinese as it is, it's very Chinese. It's very much put in a cultural context. However, it was made for an international audience. What remained to be Chinese remained that way because it was a part of, like you said, like soft diplomacy. It was a way to connect with people around the world and show, hey, like this is how we want to show how our culture is, and then on top of that, trying to show this age-old story that comes from any part of the world's myths and legends, and to kind of make it into one of the weirdest settings possible in, modern China. That was very crazy and very awesome and very relatable. And that was the point. That was the point from the beginning. And like you said, it's not just surface level. It's not just a love story. It's something that's meant to connect with people on a deeper, might I even say like almost a spiritual level, if we're talking about, how our spirits are connected to our myths and legends, honestly.
Right.
So yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I'm so glad that throughout your experience with all this, that you've been able to kind of come to those similar things, because again, like I said, it astounds me that every time I talk to somebody about the show, that we all have a similar experience.
And before you wrap up, I think that it's funny because really early on, you hear people saying, "Oh, I could not get through it. I don't even know why you like it. Like, why?" And I said, and it made me laugh, and then it made me sad as well, because I actually think I understand if you got to episode 4 and you said, "I'm through," I get what you're saying. Honestly, I get what you're saying.
Right.
How do you get past this? And that, and we had a huge discussion because some people absolutely love that roof scene. And I had such issues with that roof scene until it was explained. I'm like, tell me why you love it. I'm not even going to judge you. Just tell me why you love it. And so Linda was one of the first ones who was like, this is why I love it. Go watch it again. And I said, all right, I'm going to go watch it with that in mind and go back and see what you're talking about and see if I see that there.
Right.
And I do. And I understand the struggle that she sees in that moment. And I think, okay, I get that. And so then the question that I kind of had in my mind was, how do you convince someone to get past episode 4? How do you get someone to episode 10? Like, if you get to episode 10, I'm telling you, you're going all the way. So
yeah.
How do you get someone there? And I made this like really long argument that I'm sure I know for a fact very few people read on my Instagram post. And I said, listen, if these are my words, if you want to go ahead and cut and paste them, and if you ever see anyone saying, this is why I absolutely refuse to watch it, go ahead and cut and paste my stuff into that arena or whatever, because I had a problem with the whole thing of, we are constantly like, we're still studying Shakespeare, and let's talk about Taming of the Shrew for a minute, if we could, So I'm sorry, we're still being taught that at school. If we are being taught Shakespeare, Taming of the Shrew, if those productions are still out there happening, then why are you like, why are you taking exception with this? Because there's so many parallels, and let's just give it a chance. Just truly give it a chance. Or start questioning why we're still reading Shakespeare. I'm going to need you to do one or the other.
Right. So. Because every generation needs to read Shakespeare.
Yes.
Like, there's a reason why we keep teaching it in schools, and there's a reason why it's so problematic. And you know what? Shakespeare was problematic when it was first written, whenever he first wrote those words down. And he knew it, and that was the point. I think that a lot of people get that, plays and stories, TV shows, movies, books, whatever, it's all supposed to be a farce. It's all supposed to be melodramatic. It's not supposed to, and this is where we kind of mess up, because in modern day media in the US, we have a tendency to try to make everything as real as possible. And that's why I think people are gravitating towards Asian media, because Asian media has accepted that, like, we don't want to consume media that's real, because we want to consume media that has these extremities played out, because we have to escape, and we have to relate to media that is not real in order to figure out who we are. And we have to find ways back to what is real, because you can't just watch real things in order to really figure out who you are. It's
Right.
I don't think it's possible. That's just my opinion. I don't know, but I think you
No, I
really
mean,
have to consume stories
mhm,
in order to figure out in order to really figure out who you are, because the extremity and that farce just
mhm.
it it does something to you.
Yeah, and I think that it gives you the opportunity to actually have reflection versus like straight up comparison.
Exactly.
Which is
Yes.
what happens with reality. No,
I
and
completely agree.
yeah, don't compare yourself the way you feel on the inside with the way people are on the outside, which is what the whole reality thing is about.
Yeah.
And so with these stories, you really do. You get sucked. You get sucked into these things, and you sit there, and you say to yourself, especially with Meteor Garden, you sit there and you're just like, why am I so mad right now? Like, why am I seriously upset right now? It has left me a certain way, and I have got to like take a moment.
Yeah.
And it does, and I think that's the beauty. That is absolutely the beauty of it. And I say that all the time about the actresses who play some of the less popular characters who I love. Like I love,
Mm.
I just yeah. And I'm just like, if she made you feel a certain way, then you applaud that actress because then she's done her job.
Interesting view of
Yeah.
things.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think, or that there are certain plots that people are like, I just wasted an hour and a half of my life watching that. And you're like, no, there's a lot of stuff in there, and just hang in there, man. Don't fast forward through any of that. Just hang it.
Right. Because there's something trying to be told and there's a purpose behind it. I get what you're saying.
Yes, and like we don't know it now, but later on there's going to be a heart to heart on a bench somewhere, and it's going to come back, and he's going to be like, he's going to talk from experience, and there will be a
Yes.
weight to it. So
Yes, absolutely. So is there anything, I'm going to ask you one more question, but is there anything else that you want to say? Is there any other shout outs you want to make, or any other thing you want to say?
Oh my gosh. Let me see. I made some notes, and I swear we went through so many of these. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you had so much to say. It makes me super delighted.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I may have said too much.
No.
Actually, I think that if I could, I'm just going to go ahead and give a shout out to, I think, the one group that I haven't done a shout out to, which is the fanfic writers on my account, who have just been amazing.
Yes.
And prolific. And at the time, I don't know that I knew what I was doing when I started the fan fiction festivals, and we have them probably, this is the next one in March will probably be the 5th one we've done, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we just take a weekend, and sometimes I'll do a prompt, but most of the time I'm just like, we when we're doing recaps, I'll say, all right, here's a question we don't know, and I'd love some backstory. For example, how did Sai know where Lei and Shanse were staying? Like, how did he know they were there?
Mm-hmm.
Or what, did he get there intentionally? Someone needs to write a fanfic about this, people. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden someone's going to write a fanfic about it. Mm-hmm. And so we have some that are just amazing, and they have Wattpad accounts, and I would love it if people would go over and read just all of it. Just, it's so hard to write, and just go over there, give them some love, give them the encouragement, because they're out there like putting it all out there for you to read. And it's so hard to write it, and then to share it for someone to read it is incredibly brave. And so a shout out to Rose Me Writes and Elena1994 Camilla, Linda's Fangirling, Hong Dusha, which is HONGDOUSHA, who is lost in translation in Meteor Garden translation. V. Luna E. Pina, which is LUNAYPINA, and then Poison Ivy 0325, which is Ingrid, and she has written some smoking hot ones, I will tell you, that have just like left me speechless. So she does it, I think, just to poke at me. But they're all great. They're all wonderful. They're all just, I'm so beholden to them because the first one, I didn't know if anyone would write. And now we have people who are constantly writing and waiting for the next one to come. So yeah. I love it.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you gave them shout outs because I think it's really important to support people, especially the ones that create, the people who are putting media back into the fandom. That's right. Incredible. I mean, not to mention the people who are just active in the fandom. That's a big deal on its own. But the fact that people are creating something to put back into the fandom is incredible. So awesome. Applause to all of them.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, my final question for you is kind of a weird one because, as you know, on this podcast, we discuss all things dramas, and understanding that your background, you don't have experience in dramas.
Nothing.
Are you planning to watch more?
Okay. I am going to go ahead and do a quick confession.
Yeah.
And then I am going to answer that question. Okay.
Please.
And I'm actually I'm gonna blame y'all for this. You and Marie Claire, I think I'm just gonna blame y'all. Okay. I said on my account that I was not going to watch the last 5 episodes until I was done with all the recaps through 44. Like that was going to be the carrot for me. And so I did not think I'd be here in February and still writing recaps and not watching the finale. I had no idea I'd be doing this, but the fanfics happen, the tribute happened, and all these things take time and all that. And so I was very glad. The universe gives me something. I say, absolutely, let's do it. And so I've been thrilled to death to do all these things. But I am probably the only fan who has not seen the finale at all. and so it left me with a vacuum. I was so lonely. I wanted material. And I have watched Meteor Garden a lot. And I was like, no, I need something else. But I swore out I wouldn't watch those episodes. And so someone had pointed me in the direction of K-pop, and I have never, nothing ever. And I am telling you right now that I can, I have to take K-pop one step at a time, because if I go too fast, you'll never hear from me again. I will not. I will switch fandoms and you'll never hear from me again. And so I have favorites, I have biases, I have all that mess. And I try very hard to not lose hours of my life into that. But what I did do is I watched Accidentally in Love. I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing because you all talked about it. And I was just like, I have seen that on Netflix, and she looks adorable. And they said she was adorable. You spoke so highly of her. And I said, I'm going to do it. And I watched the first episode, and my mind was blown because it's a C-drama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the things that I thought that could not happen because of censorship, some of which were happening. And I thought, what is going on? And so I raced through that. I'm not even going to lie. I raced through it probably twice. And so because I was watching it, and the first time I was just so stunned at the difference. And I'm convinced you can't watch a show once anymore. I mean, you're reading the subtitles way too much and you're missing so much. And so, yes. So, yes, I have watched that. And now the second question, the question that I'm asked all the time is, what are we reviewing next? What's our next show?
Yeah.
And I laugh, and I'm just like, I didn't even think I'd be here still doing this. Back when I started in August, people. I don't know. I don't know what our next show is. And I don't know if there's going to be a next show. I just know that I love doing this the way I do it now, and that when I get to the end, of Meteor Garden. I fully intend to do one massive binge session, go back to the beginning and watch the whole thing in one fast loop, because I mean, I watch Meteor Garden at a very slow pace every day, getting all the detail and angles and everything. But I'd like to just go ahead and race through it and just kind of see into that. And then later, possibly look at it from a filming schedule kind of perspective.
Right.
I think that I think there are certain scenes that because they had a switch in directors. And so there's certain scenes that I'm like, all right, which director did this? I may not be able to know who it was. I know Angie, she did a lot of directing on her own as well. So there were a lot of different groups. I don't know that I'll be able to figure it out, but there are certain things that I'm like, I'd like to point to the director who did this, because this is a favorite thing of mine. And I would like to be shouting out to him and saying, Angie, if you directed this, then you're a goddess, and I must, we must be best friends,
Right.
So I don't know, but yes, I am so here for every stinking drama Netflix will throw my way. Yes, it is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And like your recommendations with Refresh Man and I was like, okay. And, I write these things down. People tell me, am I going to watch Dylan's next one? Am I going to watch Another Me that's got both Connor and Shanyu in it? And, will I do that? And I think
was in a Love So Beautiful, which is one that's on Netflix as well. So
exactly, am I going to go back and watch that? And I had told, I said to everyone at the very beginning that if I were going to pick one, it will very likely be something based on production and not on who the actors are in it. It will
good answer.
Follow that path. Yeah.
Good answer. I've actually done a similar thing recently about the way that I watch dramas in general. So whether it's a Korean or Chinese or Taiwanese, whatever, I want to follow the production because I've been burned by a few dramas that I watch purely for the actors.
And I think that for me, again, the fangirling part, I'm not going to sit here and say that, F4 is not adorable and they're not, no, they're adorable. I enjoy watching them. Right. It's just all of that. I absolutely, yes.
Right.
But I think that Marie Claire had recently put something out on Twitter about the costumes for something that she just finished watching. And I swear she put it up and I just salivated looking at just a wardrobe. There were no people wearing them. It was just the wardrobe. And I was like, tell me more. What is this? Where do I see it? What is this?
I saw that.
So, I think that's the path I would choose. And if I could find any of the costume designers who did Meteor Garden, if I could find their next projects and kind of get a look-see on that, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Seeing those things, or if Angie herself is doing something else.
And she will be.
She's got to.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. She's got to. And I think that I think it's a wonderful thing that I don't know her. I have nothing to do with the production, but isn't it amazing that she has held on to this show and has done all these different things with this show and has brought it to different audiences, and that she has this position to begin with.
Yeah, it is. It is. I actually went back.
So many women.
Yes, and I actually went back and I watched The Devil Beside You, which was a Taiwanese drama that she was a part of, and I watched it because of the same production team, and I loved it. I was floored. It was an old drama. It was not very. It didn't have a very big budget or anything. It was nowhere on the scale of Meteor Garden, even the old Meteor Garden. But I think that she's got a really good grasp on what people want and what specifically women want. That's really important.
And I think I love it because, I read back and I'm like, she's a 56-year-old woman who is out there doing her thing.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless it. She's been in this business for as long as she has. And she just, was able to do this. And how many producers are able to just have this kind of length in the business and, and just thrive. And so I thought, considering that, it felt like such a female driven production.
Absolutely.
I was thrilled. So am I going to keep writing and have it be at the level of Meteor Garden? It really depends on, what the thing is. I don't know. And I think I had mentioned this to you. I'm like, do you get lucky twice? Because I'm not sure there's anything after Meteor Garden for me. Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be like, no, it's not the same. I can't.
Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet because it's like, I always say, my first drama was Refresh Man, so it always holds a certain place in my heart. But Meteor Garden was like my fourth drama, and Meteor Garden is what did it for me. Meteor Garden was like, hey, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than your relationship with this particular drama. This is big,
Yes. And I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
That's why I was so excited to figure out that you were doing what you were doing with, a fandom for Meteor Garden, because I saw it on Twitter, but I didn't know the depth of it that was on Instagram. And to know that someone was feeling the same thing as you were, I think that's the biggest thing. That is what connected all of you together, and that's what connected me to you as well, and that's amazing.
I think so too. And like I said earlier, that I think that they knew that it was going to be a success, in China and Korea and Japan, like the places that already, Philippines, Indonesia, huge. They knew that was a market that it was just going to be golden. But the rest, I'm amazed that we have, fans in, in so many countries all over the world. And it is just, and I laugh and I'm like, one of the first accounts that I saw on Instagram was just, I think they're down in Argentina, and they are covering all the dramas, and they deliver their content in Spanish, and it is Dramas, Mi Mundo, Mi Alegría. And they do all of it, and I was amazed at just that they were reviewing things about Meteor Garden in Spanish. And I thought, okay, if they are going over things in Spanish in Argentina, why is it not trending here in the United States? I need this to be changed. Like, it is a mission. I contact Netflix on the regular, and I would very much like them to stop ignoring me. I'm constantly like, can we get some love for Meteor Garden, people? I just, I need you to acknowledge that this is, while it's a slow burn, because it is, I'm sure it was not, it's not a Stranger's Things. It's not it's not you. It's not something like that. But, I need it acknowledged. And once you acknowledge it, could you go ahead and give us a second season? Could you get Angie on a second season, please? Because, and I say it all the time, I was like, there's some unresolved issues that I'd like, even now, that I know will not get resolved.
Right.
What happens to Lei? What happens to Mizu? Do they find their happy endings?
Right.
This would be awesome. I would watch a second season of of that business.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
They set up a lot that there's potential. There's absolutely potential.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't believe it before, but Marie Claire and I talked about it for a while, and she was able to convince me that there's room enough for a second season.
This is so fun. Yeah, one of the things that I had been like advocating for was the union of, well, God, the union of just about everyone, but Mizzou with, I'm going to say her name wrong, Shousey.
Right. I wouldn't be able to say her name correct either.
Okay, I feel like I've been butchering everyone's names. But, and that, I'm going to say very quickly that is the horror of actually watching and reading the subtitles, is that you're not listening to the names, you're just reading the subtitles. So in your head, you've already labeled what that name sounds like. And then it's very hard for me to undo it. So it was like, I'm sorry, we're not saying Sai's name is not Sai, it's Sa, like Asa? Like what? I was like, Asa is not written down on the subtitles. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I had to ask about that.
It's not pronounced the same way as it's written in English at all. Yeah, I agree.
Yes. And I thought to myself, you see, this is something they need to fix. The subtitles at Netflix need to get it together.
Yeah, totally.
But at the end, I thought, I could totally see those two together. And I was like writing about it. Oh, these two totally need to, to hook up. And so someone was like, oh, you're going to get disappointed because there was a red string of whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to get disappointed and I don't even know what a red string is. And, and then Blake Abbey actually stopped by on the account, and he's like a genie. If you throw down his tag, he will come up, like he'll pop up. And I tried very hard. I'm like, no, he's got his own life. We don't need to be like conjuring him up every episode. But I threw down something, and we were discussing, I think it was that, and he said, and he was like, oh, let Thomas have his happy ending or something. Give Thomas a break. Let him have his happy ending. I was like, what? What do you mean, Thomas? Thomas and Chelsea? What? And I was floored. But yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. He's actually incredibly generous to the fandom. So, as are the guys who play the buskers, Paul and Ross. They are very, very generous.
That's amazing. That is amazing that like the fandom has gotten, at least big enough to connect with some of the people that actually have a connection to the show. Like and the fact that they're so nice and the fact that they're so generous, that's amazing. Very
yes. Cool. And not only that, but one last shout out for Meteor Garden London, who has totally retraced all of the London scenes. So much of it happens at Brocket Hall. Am I saying it right? Brocket Hall? I don't know. And so I know, again, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering it, but she has done an amazing job. And so Brocket Hall, when she tags them, they have liked her tags, and I think they've commented.
Wow.
So it has just, it's been really, really amazing. And so I think that I honestly, it's so important to me that we realize as a fandom that all of the things that we love and we appreciate about the show had about 1,000 people behind it, and all those thousands of people need to be thanked for all their efforts. It's amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've done an incredible deep dive into Meteor Garden. I think that there's still so much to talk about.
There could be. Yes, I know.
So much to talk about. And honestly, like, I encourage people to follow your accounts and
thank you.
Yeah, and to delve into a little bit more about that fandom and to watch Meteor Garden if they haven't already. But like this whole journey, I mean, I know that some people that follow you that haven't listened to this podcast might be listening. So also I encourage people to check out more dramas, maybe start with C-dramas, Chinese dramas, because they are a little different. They have a little bit more of a budget, and K-dramas, you might delve into K-dramas and go, oh my God, they're a little bit more Americanized, and just experiment more with it, because it is coming to the US through Netflix in a very strange way. So yeah, I hope people check more about that sort of thing. So just to kind of like sign off, like let people know where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram, Lindy.
Okay, I am at Drama Lindy on Twitter, which I applaud all the women and men over on Twitter who are providing all that content for Meteor Garden, because Twitter is a completely different beast from Instagram. Like that the word limit, the character limit is no joke. I am not equipped to be that succinct and clever. I can't do it. So bravo to everyone who can. And I thoroughly enjoy and love the content and the camaraderie over there. And then on Instagram, you can find me at Every Outfit on Meteor Garden 2018, where I am recapping in great and utter detail, currently episode 41. And hopefully there is a challenge that I get done in recapping through episode 44 before March 21st, I believe. I was challenged, and everyone knows how competitive I am. Everyone knows that. I can't say no to a good challenge. And awesome. So I accepted that challenge. That was Linda who threw it down. Being the beast that she is, she knew I wouldn't say no. And then for the fan tribute, where we're just kind of celebrating everyone and everything related to it, it is at Meteor Garden International, which is INTL Fandom Tribute, and that's where you can find all the information. But we're using a lot of hashtags because we're asking fans and different accounts to go ahead and post on theirs, and just to kind of be able to share and expand the fandom, because I really think it's important that that we talk about Meteor Garden in all the languages, like all of them that we can. And so I love it. I love seeing content out there in French and Tagalog, if that's the way you pronounce it. Oh, I hope that's the way you pronounce it.
It's
Spanish and everything.
It's bigger than a language barrier. Meteor Garden's absolutely bigger than a language barrier. It's grown beyond that.
It's so beyond. It can't be defined and contained. No,
absolutely.
Not. And I love it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really want to have you back on again to discuss Meteor Garden, or like anything else you watch, or just Meteor Garden. That's totally fine with me.
I would.
Perhaps do that again.
I want you to know, Ty, that if you ever want to throw down on Mizzou's costume, which everyone is just, everyone wanted to write him off. I was like, no, you are not going to write him off. And I have a very low-key crush, which everyone would be like, it's not low-key, Lindy. There's no low-key about this crush of yours. I absolutely love, and people are like, I don't understand what he's wearing. And I was like, yes, and that's the beauty of Mizzou. Yeah. Love him. So yes, I'd love to come back to discuss anything in particular, but I could do a whole 2 hours on Mizzou alone.
That's amazing. I'm so glad. I love your tenacity and I love your passion. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
So to wrap up for now, this has been Fall For It. You can follow us on Twitter at fallforit_drama, or you can follow me at black_TYM. I discuss everything when it comes to storytelling, but I love dramas. I love K-pop. I love Star Wars. So, be sure to check that out. And thanks for listening to our episode about Meteor Garden and Lindy's crazy fan base that she has developed over such a short period of time, it seems.
Well, Yes,
Yeah.
go out there and watch it, please.
Yes.
Watch it again. Get it trending on Netflix in your area, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and join the fandom if you haven't joined it already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we're fun. We're great fun.
You guys are fun. All right, and this has been Fall For It again. Thank you so much for listening, and cheers.